Hello people once again, and we are back to Diamond Cycle 9. This is the round of 8, as we have Lions Esports, of course now known as Bad Monkey Gaming, taking on Reason Gaming, so two teams with sponsorships, and actually sort of three sponsorships between the two of them, as Lions did leave their organization and join up with Bad Monkey Gaming, so I really hope we'll see a new Lions team in the HoN scene, as they've been a good sponsor in the past, and it'd be nice to see some more sponsorships for HoN. But regardless, here we should have a pretty solid match, as both these teams are definitely considered top tier. They finished HoN Tour in the number 2 and number 3 overall positions, so should be a nice even series. I think there's no doubt that Lions is slightly favored over Reason, just because it's been pretty much a 1-2 jockeying of position. Lions is number 2 and Reason's is number 3, but Lions is like 29,000 points and Reason has 15,000 or something like that, so they're close on the numbers and far on other numbers, but regardless, Engineer, Ophelia, Moon Queen, and Warbeast the bans here, as NG getting taken out on a surprise. Ophelia and Warbeast not too much of a surprise either, as we see Oph banned all the time, Warbeast similar. Moon Queen first ban from Fuzi here is pretty strange. He did this in the round of 16 as well, blind banning and actually in the second banning stage, taking out a bunch of short lane heroes, which is weird because he's the one that's going to play the short lane, so usually wouldn't expect a drafter to shoot himself in the foot like that, but I guess Lions feeling like they have the advantage here because they are so much better, they're feeling so superior, and Fuzi's like, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'll just ban all these heroes, I'm not going to be a selfish drafter, like HoN Skin. I'm not saying, I don't know, I don't think he's selfish, it's interesting, because HoN Skin, of course, not here for these matches, was not here for the round of 16, is not here now. Same thing with Jonas Fan, and they're replaced by Again and VN Sensation. So in the round of 16, we saw Super KG playing that suicide role as Jonas Fan was not there, and VN Sensation in the jungle to replace HoN Skin, Again on the mid, and Fuzi, of course, in the short lane with Seal Kid on support. So we'll see if that continues here. It certainly worked well in the round of 16, but then again, in the round of 16, if you're Lions, you're not really thinking, oh god, this is a match, duh, we're so scared, what if we lose? No, you're probably just like, okay, let's win real fast, get it over with. As the draft phase is actually going fairly fast, only a little bit of extra time used by Reason, and so far we have Pestilence and Wretched Hag from Lions. I see that exit tag and I want to say exit, but it is Lions, and obviously two heroes that work very well in this competitive scene, very, very popular. Pestilence first pick, not a surprise. Wretched Hag as the third overall selection, again, not a surprise. Very versatile hero is Hag, can run in all three lanes. With Pesty picked up, I assume we'll see him middle. And probably Hag in the Suicide as Super KG doesn't like that hero, and Lions has been running that as a Suicide hero a number of times. So I fully expect to see Super KG pick it up and go top. And now they are looking for their third overall pick, having plenty of options, of course. Hellborn have Pyro and Ravener, so that's probably going to be a mid lane there. So I assume they're looking for something strong to dual lane mid with Pesty against Pyro Ravener. It is a strong lane here from the Hellborn side. Their initiation could be a little bit questionable, and they are going to go Torturer route, so stun, stun. Well, we have stun, stun too, so mid lane going to have a lot of action, I assume, as both sides picking pretty aggressive heroes. Now, winning the last pick here from Hellborn is, of course, Pyro Ravener we just talked about. Very powerful and aggressive mid lane. A little bit of initiation problem, I think, just because the Dragonfire stun is not the easiest to land. The same thing is true with the chain reactions, but Ball Lightning is much, much harder than the Impale stun from Pesty, so I assume the Legion side will see Pesty initiate with the Impale and then follow up the chain reactions from Seal Kid. It could be, you know, the other way around, but it's going to depend on who has the initiation, of course, but I would expect that's a slightly easier route to go. On the Hellborn side, it's going to be a little more difficult in terms of who's going to initiate. I again assume that's going to be Raveners, because if he initiates, then he can use the time that Pyromancer stuns to auto attack, and if Pyro initiates, then he will be using that time to set up his Ball Lightning, so it's a little less efficient if he is not the one initiating. But we'll see. Might be a little easier for Pyro to initiate, assuming it's going to be... Oh, Book over here actually is playing, as Tilla is evidently not here, so that's a little interesting. So I guess Saint Rox is going to take the hard support. It's possible. He usually plays the second support anyway, and Reason do tend not to run junglers. So Fuzi's decision to ban Parasite perhaps not that impressive. Regardless, we don't really know what they're going to do without Tilla, as he is their hard support player. So it may end up being Saint Rox in the hard support and Book in the jungle. Or it could be Book in the hard support, we never know. Anyway, both sides having some strong lineups here, just picking heroes that are generally powerful. Kraken to finish off the first 3 picks for the Hellborn side, and like Hag, a versatile hero, can run in any lane, has some carry potential. Hag is a little more carry potential in my opinion, but Kraken does a little more in team fights, I think, with the release of Kraken, not only doing damage, but also slowing, stunning, really interrupting everybody going, oh my god, I gotta get this out of this damn thing. Bat Blast is also a problem, obviously, especially if Haunt gets leveled up and it starts to apply that slow, and the burst damage that comes out of it is certainly more powerful than anything Kraken's got. But it seems to me like a release of Kraken is like a central focus point of a fight, and Bat Blast is just a spell that goes off and deals some damage. So, of course, Kraken also substantially tankier than Hag, as this Hellborn team in general is much tankier, with Ravender and Pesty being about the same. Ravender perhaps a little buffer in that department, but Kraken much tankier than anything the Legion are going to bring. On the other hand, Legion have substantially more damage than Hellborn do, even with Ravender in there providing a lot of damage from Stormblades and his ultimate. Just between the bugs and the burst damage from Hag, it's going to be pretty difficult for, especially Pyro here, to stay alive. Ravender and Kraken shouldn't have too much trouble, but we'll see. It also depends, of course, on the farm. Parasite, Drunken Master, and Sandwraith here are the bans for Lion's side, as once again, banning that Parasite, bit of an interesting play there if they decide that they want to run a jungler. They have done it before. VN Sensation played the jungle in both of their games in the round of 16, so I wouldn't be surprised if they would go for a jungler, but Reason perfectly content not to run one, so perhaps the Parasite ban not quite as impactful as Fuzi might think. Drunken and Sandwraith certainly make a lot of sense, especially if they're going to run that Hag in the short lane. And I kind of expect Super KG to be on it, but it does also fit with their MO previously of banning out short lane heroes for Fuzi for whatever reason, feeling like, let's get rid of these short lane heroes because Drunken can be run in any lane, but perhaps does better when he has farm. We just watched the game between NK and Ready for a Miracle and Zibe on a very, very powerful Drunken Master. Got an insane amount of farm, just did so much damage, so... of course, and he was mid in a dual lane against 2, and he was by himself, so well, maybe Drunken Suicide isn't a problem. Bans for Hellborn are Slither, Grinix, and Tempest, so removing a Suicide option, a short lane option, and a jungle option. Sort of hitting every point there, as the support was the only thing that wasn't taken out, and Legion already have one support, possibly 2 here, as Witchlayer is picked up, but also could be run as a mid. We do know that they like to, I don't know if actually it's them, but we've seen Witchlayer run in the farming role as well recently. I think he does make a very strong support. I'm not surprised that he's started to get picked up, because I think if you compare him particularly to Pyromancer, because their ultimates are very similar, obviously, heavy nuke damage. They also have 1 stun. Pyro's is an AoE, Witchlayer's is a line. I think the line is a little better. And Pyro is a creep clearing early game harass support. Witchlayer's much better for the late game, because when you start hitting that 30-minute mark, a 300 damage nuke isn't nearly as powerful as like a 3.5 second hex on a carry. So if you have that initiation, especially with a portal key, and you can lock the opposing team's carry down for an extra 3.5 seconds with that hex, that's extremely, extremely powerful. And Pyro not quite there in my opinion. So Witchlayer's, and really honestly, Witchlayer's Mana Drain is a useful spell, especially if you get it early on. It prevents you from having to buy as many Clarity Pods, so you can keep yourself topped off. Pyromancer on the other hand, especially in the early game, just does not have the ability to sustain his spells without significant investments in regen, and as a support hero you won't always have that gold, and it may not always be the most efficient way to spend it. But so this is definitely going to be a support witch, as we see the Gauntlet final pick on Lion's side, and that is going to be a super KG hero. I think Hook heroes always KG heroes, so I think again is not going to be in the mid, as I think it's going to be Wretched Hag in the Suicide role, as we'll see what happens actually. But right now, Fuzi taking the Hag. It doesn't mean, of course, that he can't play the Suicide. They could also run Man Up Dual Lane or a Tri-Lane for that matter. Pesty Witchslayer Torture actually makes a pretty solid Tri-Lane here with 3 stones. So now that I'm looking at it, I like the Tri-Lane option here, aggressive. Pesty Witchslayer and Torture has a ton of kill potential. Gauntlet in the middle with Super KG's hands, and Fuzi in the short lane on Hag, playing that short lane like I didn't expect in the initial stage. I thought Super KG was going to take it, but I quite like Hag in the short lane role anyway. And Hellborn's side picking up Bubbles and Blitz to round out their lineup, so obviously Blitz can be the second support. And Bubbles is going to finish things off. I'm not a huge fan of that pick, just because now Hellborn's team is extremely mid-game centric. They should do fine in their lanes, but they won't necessarily do great. And they sort of have to win in the mid-game. I think, honestly, I wouldn't really hate a tri-lane from Hellborn either, as they have 3 powerful stuns. And the follow-up and damage from them would be extremely strong. And I'm just generally not a fan of dual laning Kraken either. I think he likes to have that solo experience, and he doesn't do that much in a dual lane. It's not like having a second hero there, besides just zoning the suicide or whatever, as I assume he's going to be running that short lane if it is not the aggressive if it is not the aggressive tri-lane, because he would probably be Bubbles suicide and then him in the short, as I doubt that they would short Ravener, but you never know. No, it is Bubbles headed top, and I really, really, really don't like this. So 4 Hellborn heroes headed bottom, Fuzi's headed middle, and could certainly run him in that role with KG in the bot. I would prefer Fuzi bot, I think, on that Hag, with the aggressive tri-lane. KG going to spot a bunch of heroes out over here, and perhaps going to be initiated on. There goes the Sun, plus the ball lightning, and he's in some trouble here. Torn on top of the Dragon Flame. This is going to be first blood.
For the very first time.
So, lots of stuff coming out of KG there, and Imbuwai actually, on that Rav, picks up the first blood. So this is definitely going to be a farming Rav. And Zane on the Kraken makes me suspect it's going to be a Suicide Kraken, so... Suicide Kraken, Death Growl on Bubbles. I hope that ends up being run middle. We'll see what happens. Hag actually does get the ward down, so this is looking like a Suicide Hag. And it actually is going to be a defensive tri-lane here from Legion. With Pesty and Torturer. I don't like this. I hope this ends up evolving into dual lanes, as they where he's going to be countered real fast. But this is going to be an aggressive tri-lane from Hellborn and a defensive tri-lane from Legion. So it looks like Hellborn calling Legion, or Legion calling Hellborn's lanes and responding to their tri-lane with one of their own. As the matchups are taking shape here now. Up top, Hag is going to be in a little bit of trouble just because this Bubbles Hag matchup tends to go in favor of Bubbles. It has gone in favor of Hag occasionally, but Bubbles' burst damage is a little too good. The silence comes out, stops the blink, and once you hit 6 and get the Kelp field, you just have a kill pretty much automatically, because you either stay in the Kelp field and die, or blink out and die. And Hag just does not have the burst damage or the right-click auto attacks at this early stage of the game to deal with anything. Mid lane, we've got Kraken going up against Gauntlet, as both heroes are throwing out some harass. I don't expect there to be too many kills here, as both of these strength heroes don't do that much damage, especially not without a lane partner. And of course the charge away from Kraken will help him out defensively quite a lot. Gauntlet doesn't really have an escape mechanism in the same variety, but he should be the initiator anyway with the hook, so shouldn't be needing to run away too much. So mid lane should be relatively even. It's going to depend really on who outplays who, and who has lane control, who gets a little lucky maybe. Top I think should go to Bubbles, and bottom should certainly go to this Legion side as they're running the defensive tri-lane. Personally, I'm just not a fan of defensive tri-lanes in general, as this ward will get countered, so nice de-warding there from the Hellborn. Because it seems to me like, in this situation it works out okay because Hellborn are running their own aggressive tri-lane, and if they didn't do this, then Pesty would get stomped. So even though they might, and they should really, well, they would win the mid lane, but they wouldn't win it hard enough to deal with the fact that Pesty would be getting totally destroyed. Meanwhile over here, Pyro are going to pull these creeps out and stack the pull? No, actually, we'll prevent the stack. That was clever. So pulling them too early and preventing the stack. It's like, what are you doing, Pyro? And that's what he was doing. So, solid call here from Lions, deciding to go up against the aggressive tri-lane from Hellborn with one of their own. And of course, both sides have 3 stuns. So if somebody gets caught here, it's reasonably possible that they'll die. But lane control being taken here by Hellborn a little bit, and Ravener's getting free farm, while Seal Kid over here in this Torture is pulling the lane in, so Legion will have creep up top. Bubbles putting a bunch of damage on Hag, and yeah, this isn't surprising. Being forced to take a health pot already, Bubbles already still has a health pot, but will pop one of his own, and 4 tangos. Only 2 tangos on Hag, and she's missing some mana. Bubbles has missing even more mana, in fact. So I think if he waits this out and hits 6 relatively soon, he should be able to grab a kill. Make sure he keeps up his mana. So lane control once again for the Legion side. And this is interesting too, because the focus farmers on both sides are sort of mid-game heroes with just semi-carry potential, not hard carry potential. We've seen both of these heroes really hard carry, but only when they hit that 500 to 600 gold per minute mark. Like, it's farm that you wouldn't normally expect to be on this type of hero. As Blitz gonna go to the side, put a stun there onto Torture. Will also eat the ball lightning, gonna eat the pyro stun as well, and he's gonna die. Ravener will be able to get away. As Pesty's now in a little bit of trouble, taking some damage from that impalement, is the Hellborn side. But there goes the stun once again. Hex will stop Ravener's initiation, but Pesty's in a ton of trouble, dies here. Saint Rocks and Blitz will also fall, and looks like Witchslayer might get a double tap, just enough with the health pot from Pyro to survive, as he ended up with really no health, about 10 health. So double tap here from Hellborn as they pick off 2. Ravener lives. He's the only one that's staying in lane too. So that's a pretty massive advantage here for them, as Pesty not only died, but then of course has to come back. And strong initiation there from Blitz, working his way down the side, of course having countered this ward. Sorry, Legion countered the Hellborn ward. Yeah, Hellborn countered the Legion ward, and then Legion countered the Hellborn Rev ward. And this is out of sight, of course. So, well played down here by the Hellborn, and looking GPM charge Ravener's way up there. As he not only got the Bloodlust, but I believe he got one of those kills too. Both of them, in fact. So he's 3-0-0, having gotten both of those killed and 415 gold per minute. And that's about as good a start as you can ask for. As he will grab a mana pot here. Get himself some mana back. Jump onto Pesty. There goes the stun, followed by the ball, and he will connect. Pyro's in here, looking for the stun. Not going to find it, though. Pesty's just a little too fast. Chain reactions will hit Rav, but that's going to be it. Witchslayer trying to take a mana pot. Nice stun there, actually. And Phoenix Wave will finish him off. Ravener now in some trouble. We'll take the Hex and just enough from the impalement, as the chain reactions weren't even necessary. So 1-for-1 trade there, favoring Legion as the serial killer streak was stopped. On the other hand, I think Rav got experience with a kill on Pesty, so I think that does still slightly favor Legion just because of the gold difference between the two right now, at 190 GPM for Again and 375 for Rav. As bot lane will be guarded by 2 heroes. Illusion's picked up by Kraken, so he'll have a pretty substantial advantage at this point. Up top, Hag will grab this refreshment, and she's sort of ceding lane control here to Bubbles. Both are level 6. With the creep farm right here. Hag at 25 and 3, so doing very well up here. Bubbles a little bit better at 32 and 7. But in a suicide roll, 25 creep kills in 6.5 minutes is quite solid. So Fuzi playing well, and he's at 245 gold per minute. Should do well into the mid-game as a result. And I'd say Deathgrail here not playing quite aggressive enough. Doesn't have enough mana. Has his own bottle, but we'll see if he chooses to jump anything. We'll put some aggression here on Hag. And Hag just has too much mana. It's actually in mid. Super KG falls to release the Kraken. The charge actually missed there, but... Oh, put the Torrent and the release of Kraken. I don't know what you're doing there, KG. Run back in with no health. And easy kill there from Kraken. So 5-2 hero kill lead here for Reason Gaming. Is there 2,300 gold and 1,100 experience up? Very nice start for them. I think the only thing I'm mildly concerned about is this Bubbles down here. He needs to be a little more active, a little more able to kill this Hag. It looks like he's setting up for a gank here. With the Steam Boots on Int now, has 397 mana, not enough for his full combo, but close. Has no more bottle charges, so I guess gonna go for that 8-minute rune perhaps and see what he can do. Bot, meanwhile, looking for a jump onto Pyromancer, will die. No question, as the Witchslayer stun helps out. And still more counter warding going down here. It's just everybody's warding and counter warding. Up top, looking for a gank is Blitz, as Gauntlet's here as well, though, and Gauntlet Hook will miss, puts the stun out. Now they realize, oh crap, Gauntlet's here. That's going to be a dead Blitz. Despite the kill field, yes, showing the screen, not enough. Takes the kill field stun, though, and now Hag perhaps in some trouble. We'll take the sonar, or take cover there. One more auto attack, just enough. But now, with the Haunt on Bubbles, he's going to die. So tries to get away with the Shelter, but it's 2-for-1 exchange. Kraken coming in here with the Torrent, looking for a charge. There's a splash. Has the charge available, of course. And will he be able to hit this? Gauntlet's kind of fast, and he's not going to be able to charge him in anything, so will not get the kill. 2-for-1 exchange there from Legion, as they will certainly take the engagement. Now, Gauntlet's going to have this regen rune. Elusive Kraken is not available, and he doesn't have mana for it, I don't think, anyway. Yeah, he does, in fact, at 290. Bot, meanwhile, Ravener getting jumped. There's a bunch of stuns going out. Dragon Flame will hit Torture, but his chain reactions already went off, so that's still going to be a death on Rav. Actually, Torture dies first, so that's nice. He gets a kill there, and Witch Slayer also going to fall here. Hag coming in for some cleanup, though. Takes the Sonar Scream onto 2. Pyromancer going to eat the Bat Blast, and oh, nice Dragon Fire onto Pesty. Bubbles coming in from the side, and Hag's going to drop here from the Blitz stun. And now Pesty realizing he needs to get out of there, so that is going to be substantially in favor of Hellborn as they pick off 3 heroes in exchange for just the Rav. Nice rotation there from Bubbles. And so like, well, you know what, your Gauntlet can come top, well, our short laner can come bot. I think we're going to need to see a lot more of that, as if you look at the GPMs right here, short lane Bubbles, 300 gold per minute. If you're going to use your short lane on a hero like Bubbles that doesn't hard carry and is really a mid-game hero, early mid-game hero, then he needs to have a better start than that if he wants to have a substantial impact in the game. He's at 557 gold right now. He'll have his portal key in the next couple of minutes if he wants to go straight for it, which I don't see why he wouldn't. His Torturer continuing to do ward here. So Bubbles will have a relatively quick portal key, of course, but you know, they use that short lane on Haggis, and meanwhile, Zane will fall, and they missed that Gauntlet jumping in there with the Infernal Instability, plus the Gauntlet Blast, on top of the ultimate from Witch Slayer, and the hook back into the tower. The end sensation on that Witch Slayer actually gets the kill. So a couple ultimates used, but it's still a dead Kraken, so that's worth it. Word of Sight going off to the side, and bugs are on Bubbles, so he's not going to be able to juke. Anyway, you know, heroes that need a good start, and sort of include Bubbles. Nice take cover on the chain reactions there as the Impalement goes out, but now, Kelpfield on top of that, and now we're looking for a kill. Shellsurf actually misses Torture, and as a result, nobody's going to go in. Kelpfield wears off, and they just leave. Port coming in here from, I believe that was Pyro. No, it would have been Blitz, as the support's on cooldown. So 3 heroes bot now. Blitz grabbing some farm. So like I said, I'm mildly concerned about this. It's not like they sacrificed much because their offlaner was Impa-Boy, and he's at 370 gold per minute, so you compare the short laners versus the offlaners here. Bubbles is at 300 GPM, and Pestilence is at 234. Fuzi's at 250, and Rav's at 371. Mid lane they definitely did lose. KG is at 350 gold per minute compared to Zane at 270. But that's, you know, still 3-1, 2 lanes won and 1 lost. And bot in particular, they won pretty damn hard. The thing that concerns me really is that as Ball Lightning will miss and Hag will just blink away. The thing that really concerns me is that the late game potential here for Hellborn is not that good. Ravener is their ostensible carry, so he's like their number 1 to be, you know, to put a name on it. Over here, Hex going to be taken by Bubbles, and he's going to die. Deathgrowl just has nothing. And so once again, Witch Slayer, powerful support hero. Hex into stun, and Bubbles is just like, well, I'm weak, and I rely on my escape mechanism, so if you're going to lock me down for that long, I'm going to not live. You mean, mean people. So in that sense, actually, Witch Slayer very strong counter to Bubbles. Because as a support, he puts out enough burst damage and has enough lockdown to pretty easily kill that hero. Torture going to pop the Impalement here. We'll do a ton of tower damage. Cliff Fortification pop in the meantime. But still going to be very painful for this tower. And with the Ballista here, this is probably going to be a tower kill if Hellborn don't rotate. And they're bringing 1 port in. Bubbles is here with the Shell Surf. Will help some anti-push. And this is now not going to be a tower kill, but it will be in deny range. So, Deathgrowl here, presumably going to deny this bot tower. Meanwhile, Illusion Pyro going to spot out Torture, but obviously nothing going to die there. Up top, 3 heroes for Hellborn and 2 for Legion, as Gauntlet's looking for a hook, digging his way into the trees. But I don't think they know exactly how much support Hellborn has, as both supports are up here, and Pyro's sort of looking for the side. Gauntlet not going to hit, and now 4 heroes over, and they're definitely looking for an initiation. Quick in there on a Kraken. They're going to find Hag, blinks into the trees and ports out. Nice Ball Lightning, as that was beautifully played from Impa-Boy. So Fuzi dies right there, and they need to keep doing that, honestly. Gauntlet will be an effective hero, will be a scary hero at 330 gold per minute. Again on Pestilence, needs to pick up his farm in order to be a relevant hero, and so does Fuzi. Every single time they gank Fuzi, it's going to be a pretty big deal. Nice silence there preventing the Impel Stun and the Kelp Field, and there could be some trouble here. Nicely done by Death Growl. Porting around and picking off again with a very, very nice series of plays. A little too much aggression there from Pesty, and he pays for it. Just kept looking for that Impel Stun and could never find it. Mid tower should be denied. Kraken looking to jump in here. Glyph of Fortification goes out, prevents the deny. Now Kraken needs to get the hell out. Which they're coming in. Actually gets killed by the cannon. So that's a pretty serious misplay. Stun will not hit Kraken. So Reason Gaming doing pretty well at this point. Obviously, Ravener way up there in terms of farm, but both Bubbles and Kraken at 300 gold per minute, and the support's also doing pretty well, 200 GPM for Blitz and 180 for Pyromancer. Compare that to most of the Legion heroes, particularly the Pestilence and the Hag, both under 250 GPM, having a bit of a tougher time here. Presumably Hag will be going for the Light Brand route, try to get her farm up, and turn into that right-click carry that we all know she can be. So this is good for Hellborn. This is about what their team is supposed to do. Ravener jumping in here onto Pestilence, and there's the Song of the Sea and the Shell Surf, and he will die. So good pick there. Ravener, of course, having his portal key well before Pesty has his. 777 gold on Pesty, Steam Boots and Power Supply, so no bottle, of course, in this game as he was not middle, which will be a bit of an issue here for him, I think. You know, he does have some mana problems. Kraken to find two heroes over here right in the Gauntlet Blast, but Ravener has the follow-up stun, and he's going to take some damage onto a bunch of heroes, but he's actually getting locked down as the Impale's doing a ton. Uzi gets picked off in the meantime by Bubbles as he's looking for a kill onto Torture. Will find it with just enough auto attack damage. Jump by Gauntlet as he has a portal key of his own, and Bubbles is looking to die through creeps. He won't do it. So at this point, it's a 3-for-2 in favor of Legion, and they're looking for some more pursuing here. Plenty of health and mana on Pesty as he comes back after getting killed, but won't be additional engagements, and their Lions does a really good job. They kill everybody except the supports and lose a support and their Suicide Laner there in exchange, so definitely a strong trade for them. This bot tower will finally get denied. Tripled Ancients over here. And that's a pretty big deal. Technically it was a 3-for-3, I guess, if you want to consider the pick from Pesty earlier as part of that team fight, but Witch Slayer helping Pesty jungle a little bit there, as he really needs his gold, man. 250 gold per minute, has that portal key. But not much else, and at the rate he's going, he won't get much else very fast. I think he pretty much needs a Shrunken Head in this game. It will prevent pretty much everything from Pyro and Bubbles and a lot of stuff from Blitz and Kraken. So I expect both, really all three, Pesty, Fuzi, and Super KGE. Sorry. Yes. I was actually correct. Holy crap. I do expect all of them to get Shrunken Heads relatively quick. There is a substantial amount of magic damage on the Hellborn side, and it's nice that Ravener's ult is superior magic because, technically speaking, all of their damage is magic pretty much. There's almost no right-click here on Hellborn, and there pretty much won't ever be. If you consider, I mean, like, Ravener's damage, of course, is right-click, but it's magic damage. If you want to consider just physical damage, Kraken's going to do a bit, Bubbles will do less, and the supports are obviously going to be more than, or just about useless, so not feeling the right-click physical here very much, and you look at the Legion side, and obviously that's not the case. Pesty, Gauntlet, and Hag all plenty of right-click physical damage, and a fair bit of magical for them too, especially considering the addition of the Witch Slayer and Torture. But with the Shrunken Head up, the Legion heroes just won't die. Nice hook here onto Ravener. Will take the Gauntlet Blast. Shellsurf actually saw this coming in on top of the Kelp Field, and the release of Kraken as well, so Gauntlet and Torture are going to pay for this. Ports coming in here from Legion will be cancelled. So strong response here from Hellborn as they actually had 4 heroes up. And they get to pick on Dead Boy, which is good because he was the top farmer in the game. He isn't anymore, as both Gauntlet and Bubbles have overtaken him. But they pick off 2 heroes in exchange for their carry.
The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion tower.
And considering Gauntlet is the top farm on the Legion side by quite a lot, and they also get a tower kill here, and possibly a secondary one if they're fast about this. I think that trade ultimately does favor the Hellborn, yeah. Legion here not doing too much to respond to this tower kill, perhaps just because Gauntlet isn't up for 15 seconds. And it looks like they can get this tower. Bot secondary tower is being pressured. Ravener will port to it. Torture over here. Didn't try to do something about this. Oh my god, Seal Kid. You are a god. All hail Seal Kid. That was a well-timed auto attack. So Hellborn getting 2 towers on top of a couple of picks in exchange for Ravener. I think they'll take that. In fact, it's possible that Ravener actually increases GPM from that because he was dead for about a minute, but 2 tower kills gives him a couple hundred gold, so... Or, more like, 350, 400 GPM, so... Very possible that the death actually increases for him in a strange way. And he will continue to do so on bottom lane, as Hellborn sort of look like they're grouped up to push this bot tower. Legion not just going to let this one go, though. Invis rune on Hag, scouting everything out. We've got 4 heroes down here, plus a 5th coming in that Pyromancer. And they're just looking for Ambuboy. Once again, they're baiting him pretty damn hard. Portal Key on Bubbles, of course, is able to get the initiation real fast. Throws Selsurf out, and Invis Hag still here. Another 30 seconds, so she has plenty of time on that. This is looking like a 5v5 engagement is about to happen. Gauntlet auto-attacking a Wild Hunter in the woods, which is, I don't know why he's there. Torrent on the Crag and a Torturer. And there will be a D-Ward here countered. Torturer perhaps looking for an engagement, but won't find one. Hag off to the side, of course, knows there's a D-Ward there, so won't be walking into the woods anytime soon. Jump by Pesty onto 2 heroes. Bubbles immediately going to get bursted down, but so is Seal Kid, obviously in favor of Legion side. At least Kraken gets dropped onto Super KG, and again, both fall in a matter of seconds. Hag and Witchslayer now on the run. Puts the Hex there onto Kraken, but it's not going to be nearly enough. Witchslayer's easily going to get picked off here, and Fuzi's the only one left alive. Great fight from Reason. They lose Bubbles, but they're going to get 4 heroes and a tower, possibly a second if there aren't any buybacks. As they've shown, they can push towers relatively fast. And Phoenix Wave from Pyromancer, of course, helping a lot to clean up those creep waves. So they're going to keep pushing this out. Seal Kid actually buys back. No, he didn't. He just respawned. What am I even talking about? And he will port down here. Ball lightning initiation on top of the portal key and just death. So bit of an error there from Seal Kid. Now actually Ravener's in some trouble because he's going to run right into Hag, and whereas there's on a screen plus an auto attack, easy kill. So I don't know what the hell Imboboy was doing over there, but it wasn't a good plan. And they actually won't push the spot tower as the port comes in here from Passy looking for a pick, and they see the ward over here, so they have a little bit of vision. Pyromancer off to the side, perhaps in some trouble. Will port out, and should be surviving. Yeah. So they lose Ravener for Torture at the end there. Not a great trade, obviously, but overall the engagement certainly went in their favor as they're 7.5k gold and 2.5k experience up at this point. Now, Reason's certainly doing very well. And most importantly, they're continuing to shut down this Hag and this Pesty. So actually, I was going to say that they have to be very careful about this because they need to win soon. But with Hag's mediocre farm and Pesty's worse than mediocre farm, I'm not sure if they do have to win soon. I think at this point, with how well they've controlled the mid game and how good they've been at taking team fights and taking towers, up top meanwhile, going to be a jump onto Death Corral and he'd fall. So that's not going to be very helpful. But outside of that, how good they've been, and really, like I said, Ravener carries super hard if he gets that 550 to 600 gold per minute. And right now he's at 430, so he's doing pretty well for himself. If he can continue to jump that up, then he'll be very happy, I think. Fuzi Illusion's going to be spotted out here. And they're going to realize quite quickly that they're both illusions. Torrent was used by Kraken, but not the longest cooldown in the world. They're sitting right on top of Rev Ward here, so they obviously know what's going down. Jump over here by Ravener onto Torture, and he will get destroyed. Few auto attacks are enough. Then the jump onto again, and 2 kills. Bat Blast comes out from Fuzi. He does still have a blank. Super KG going to catch Kraken with the hook, but the release of Kraken gets dropped onto him, and now he's going to die with the Dragon Flame Phoenix Wave and the Pyro Ultimate. But Kraken also falls just barely, as Witch Slayer still has a silver bullet, but not enough. Ravener health, man, he has no health. And Sanitarius, of course, helping out a lot with keeping him alive. So 3 for 1 hero kill exchange there as they pick off Pesty, Kraken, and Torturer. Sorry, Pesty, Gauntlet, and Torturer for Kraken. Once again, a good trade for Hellborn. And just as important as the hero kills, they're doing this stuff in the Legion jungle. So they're being massively aggressive, and they're basically telling the Legion team, you cannot be safe in your own jungle. Like, you know, they've got a Ward of Sight here that is out of range of both of these Wards of Rev, so they have some vision down here, and Legion may well think that their own jungle is not warded at all. Meanwhile, jumping in mid on Ravener's Torture's going to die again. Looking for a counter jump, though. There's the Hex and the Stun, actually. He's taking a lot of damage, giving a lot back with your actually feedback, and just enough as Pesty jumps in and picks him off. So Imba Boy, once again, trading his life for Torturers. Not a good plan. Triple stacked Ancients over here are still triple stacked. Somebody needs to take those sometime soon. So Imba Boy certainly with the aggressive plays, and he needs to make those, with the response from the Legion side a little too strong. And Seal Kid obviously does not die in vain. But it is rather impressive how well the Hellborn have managed to control the game at this point. Of course, only losing 1 Tier 1 tower in both middle and top. They have their towers up. Top tower not even taking all that much damage, although again is trying to fix that situation. Triple stacked Ancients finally being cleared out here by Bubbles and Kraken. Bubbles taking a lot of damage. I see we'll be fine. Worth noting right now that Pesty is sort of nothing. He's got the initiation, he's got the bugs, but right now he's a jump, a stomp, and a bugs, and that's pretty much it. He's soft. 1366 health on strength steam boots plus a stout shield is not that much health, especially for Ravener, who will just cut straight through it. And he doesn't really provide too much sustained damage. 94 to 102 damage, not very high at all. Let's take a look at Hag, and she's got 110 to 100, or 102 to 110 on Adu steam boots. Meanwhile, on bot, VN Sensation gets picked off by Kraken, who has a portal key. Jump in, there's a torrent, and the charge, and Ventress, and just a couple auto attacks, and all of a sudden he's dead. So well played there from Zane. 4-man gank squad from the Hellborn side, looking to do something in the middle, of course, getting spotted out by this Ward of Sight. Ward of Web will be dropped, but they won't actually see the Ward of Sight because it's behind a tree. So nice placement there from Seal Kid. As Hellborn are continuing to steal the Legion's jungle. Go to resource management, of course, keeping their team out of their own jungle. Super KG will instead farm up the Hellborn jungle, and that's the risk you run, of course. If you bring your entire team to the opposing jungle, then they might farm yours. But this is looking like a bot tower push, and once again, Hellborn keeping up the aggression. I'm massively in favor of this. Because I really do think that they've got to win this game relatively soon. Fuzi all of a sudden at 330 gold per minute. And that's just going to continue to get higher as she does have the Light Brand. Has enough for the Grimoire, in fact. Kelpfield going on to her in middle, and she's going to blink away. Takes the Kelpfield stun, but avoids the Pyro. Off to the side, they do not see her, so she will be able to port away. Mid tower was denied. Top tower going to fall. So Hellborn get a secondary tower, but lose 2 in the process. Not a great trade for them. If they had gotten the pick on Fuzi, I think that would have been fine, but she just manages to get away, as Hag is one of the most difficult heroes to catch. Creep's getting cleaned up by Pyro as he's sort of wasting his mana. No Arcane Ring either, so it's not like he's going to get it right back. But Hellborn not choosing to engage. Pyro Illusion just doing some damage to the tower. And they might go for a con kill here. I think that's what's going to happen. Pyro porting out, in fact, going top to prevent the push. But look at me, I'm here. We're totally not doing Conquer. There's a Legion Ward well deep here into this Hellborn jungle, so they know they're not farming the woods. And they might look for a pick on Pyromancer up here, as 3 heroes are converging up top, and Pyro's in a lot of trouble. She's pretty certainly dead, as Hag's just like, hello, Witch Slayer has a portal key, there's a Hex, and a stun gonna finish her off, so. The Sensation of 214 gold per minute has that PK, pretty big deal. But Kongor goes down in favor of Hellborn. I think they'll take that trade Pyro for Kong. Token under Ravener, no surprise. And they're going to look to defend top tower. As all of a sudden the towers have been slightly evened out. Jump over here from Death Growl onto Torture, and he's going to take some damage, but won't die. Jump from Pesty, actually killed through only onto Torture. A bit of a waste there. Torture will fall immediately. Death Growl going to get killed, though. And everything goes down. Actually, Super KG comes in with the hook and will take the token away. And Gen falls, though, in the meantime. As Kraken died off to the side, I guess. And now Rabbit are getting locked down. Shrunken Head from Gauntlet preventing a lot of stuff. Blitz over here in a lot of trouble. Gonna eat some Light Brand auto attacks, and he will be okay, as nobody has any mana to do anything. So Legion's side certainly taking a strong fight there, picking off Kraken somehow. I don't know how Hag did it, I guess. Kraken ate at Sonar Scream and a Bat Blast, and was not able to turn that into another kill. Really surprised. He's at 1900 health that he wouldn't be able to survive that. But Ravener dying twice, of course, and then buying back as the Legion side get the hell out of there. Plus kills on Kraken, Pyromancer, and Bubbles. And Hellborn should still be reasonably powerful at this stage of the game, especially with a decent gold lead. But as we saw, KG has a Shrunken Head, and Pesty's working on his own. He's got a Mighty Blade. I would fully expect Hag's next item to be a Shrunken. I think that's the reason she has 2,700 gold now saved up, and 2,800 gold saved up. I just fully expect full Shrunken Head on the Legion side, and when that happens, I'm really worried about the damage here. Pyromancer looking for a pick. Actually, Portal Key away from Gauntlet, knocking me off to save from Blitz. Hovering on top of the sun. Dragon Flame will come out. Nice! Actually hits the stun, but the ultimate comes out as well, and that's going to be just enough. St. Rock's actually on a savage 6 streak somehow. So KG doing everything he could to get out of that, short of popping his Shrunken. Meanwhile on bot, Bubble's going to get caught out, has a DD rune, but eats the Witch Slayer ultimate, and there's going to be just enough auto attacks here to lock him down and kill him. 1-for-1 trade there in favor of Hellborn, as 360 gold per minute on Super KG compared to 310 on Death Growl. So, of course, Fuzi has now taken over the top farm of the game mark from that, from the Legion mark from KG on that Gauntlet, and he's about to destroy Ravener. As all of a sudden, the farm is just there. So Fuzi getting that Grimoire and turning it into a ridiculous amount of gold. Shrunken on Rav, also a big deal because of all the lockdown on Legion side. Now it's worth noting there's a physical stun from Pesty. I believe that goes through. Not sure if that actually goes through the Shrunken or if it's just the damage that goes through the Shrunken, but of course the Gore procs will go through the Shrunken. Up top, Hag pushing on this tower, and we'll get it. Response from Hellborn's side is not going to be there quite in time, actually, as the glyph goes off, so this will be denied, but it'll still be a dead tower. Zane says, thanks for the work there, Bubbles, but I will actually get a credit for the deny, because I'm better. And I'm honestly starting to get a little concerned about Hellborn's lead. They're spending a lot of time here farming and not grouped up and pushing. All of their ultimates are available. I don't see why they wouldn't push. Unless they think that A, they're close to some item, or B, they can't. And if they can't, then they're in a lot of trouble because it's not like things are going to get better. Fuzi's farm is going to continue to explode. Over 400 gold per minute now as on bottom Gauntlet in a little trouble, but will be okay. Pyromancer has a jetpack. That's awesome. And he's very slowing Blitz down. Stop it. And Hellborn will group up here in middle for a tower push. Up top, Witch Slayer pushing for some reason. Does not have a port. Hag does have a port, so that'll be alright. On bottom, Gauntlet also has a TP. But free tower kill here for Hellborn. Ancient's going to be stolen as the double stack is killed. Legion's courier, I think. Yeah, we'll scout them out, but it's not going to be enough in time because Hellborn are just destroying these Ancients. Regen Rune picked up by Rav. And I like the amount of damage the Insanitarius is giving him. I'm not sure if it was the right item. Just because he's not as tanky as you would normally think. And having the Insanitarius, it is going to give him massive attack damage, but it also drain his life a lot. And the Hellborn or Leech side have plenty of getaways and ways to kite him around. And they have the slows, they have stuns out the ass. And the Shrunken Head is going to prevent him from really taking the full brunt of that as it used to. Because I think that was what was screwing with him more than anything before. It was putting that Insanitarius on and then getting hexed and stunned to death and just not being able to use that attack damage for anything. And with Insanitarius, you really need the attack damage. You can't just be not attacking. Like, the whole point of that item is it hurts you in order to make you really powerful. At right clicks, Gauntlet jump here with the Gauntlet Blast, followed by the Rich Slayer. Bubble's going to counter-initiate with the Kelp Field and everything, but Gauntlet puts the Shrunken Head on Ret. Kraken will take the ultimate from Witch Slayer, but Seal Kid going to fall immediately to Blitz's auto attacks. Bat Blast actually hits 3, except for the take cover coming out from Bubbles, and now Pyro's going to fall here, but there goes Bubbles as well. And that's a cleanup here from Fuzi and the Legion side as they pick off 4 heroes in total for just their support Torturer there. And this is going to be a bot tower kill now. And the pendulum has swung. 442 gold per minute, now 452 on Hag, 432 on Ravener. So Ravener had been out farming him all game, but that Hag Grimoire will eventually get to the point where it's too problematic to deal with. And of course Hag also has that Shrunken Head. Gauntlet, or sorry, Pesty will have his in 300 gold. Ravener gonna have to jump in with the Ball Light, and Gauntlet in some trouble. It immediately gets hexed and hooks himself away, actually. Shellster from Death Growl, and they're gonna try to put this onto Pesty, but he portal keys before the Torrent actually hits him. And they're still looking for a jump here, but Pesty's so damn fast with that flight. The Sensation, meanwhile, gets picked off on top as he's in the base for some reason. What the hell is he doing? Buying a Void Talisman? I don't know what you're doing there, buddy. Ball Lightning kills him. Okay. I mean, Ravener's auto attacks are superior magic. So, like, I don't get it. I don't know why a Void Talisman you think would be helpful. It'll stop Zane's stuff and everything from Bubbles, Blitz, and Pyro, but that's not that much damage. And it's not going to stop anything from Rav. Whatever. I think it'd be really silly if Seal Kid got it, because Seal Kid seems to be the only person ever dying in these fights. 4, 10, and 8. Poor guy. But a lot of his deaths have not been in vain, as they've been resulting in kills on Ravener, or sometimes the entire Hellborn team. And we now see the first gold lead, not of the game, but the first gold lead in a while here for this Legion side, as they took a successful team fight, took down some damage on a tower. And at this point, I'm scared for Hellborn. We're 36 minutes into this game, and their heroes have peaked, and they're now starting to fall down. You can tell Bubbles is just not nearly as effective as he used to be, especially with those Shrunken Heads up. He does nothing. Pyro and Blitz, similar situation, especially Pyro. The Shrunken Head up, he's like, what do I do? Well, seriously, what do I do? I can't do anything. What do I do? Ravener, not quite as big a problem because his attacks are superior magic, so this Shrunken Head doesn't counter them because it goes straight through. But Bubbles' damage, Pyro's damage, a lot of Kraken's damage is just not going to matter. Shrunken Head, no finish on Pesty. And Gauntlet working on the Hellflower actually nearly has it, which will once again make Ravener's life hell because Gauntlet has the jump and Hellflower on top of that. And then he's just going to get locked down because he won't be able to pop his Shrunken, and there's so much disable on this Legion side between Torture and Witch Slayer in general, and then Gauntlet and Pesty on top of that. So much stun, so much positioning, the disable. So Ravener is going to get destroyed in these team fights. Lots of burst, of course, too. As Legion's looking for a push up top. We'll run into the Hellborn team over here. Going to sign Bubbles right there, and he will put a Shell Surf and take cover out, but he's just going to drop in the entire team. Seal Kid immediately dies to the release of Kraken, but they don't care. That's a good ultimate to be down. As Death Growl will fall as well. Slayer in the back, as Gauntlet Blast actually will go on to Kraken and hit him. Immediately takes it off, though, and he's going to fall. Bat Blast onto 2 as Saint Rocks dies easy. And actually, Ravener's now jumping in here for reasons. Not really sure what his plan there was there, but it wasn't a good one. 500 gold per minute on Hag. So they were keeping Fuzi down a little bit in the mid-game. He had a good start with the 250 GPM on the suicide roll. And they did a decent enough job keeping him down in the early mid-game coming out of the laning phase. But he got the Light Brand, man, and his farm went crazy. And then he got the Grimoire, and his farm went really crazy. Ravener buys back, jumps in here up onto the Gauntlet. He will be taking village damage, and actually Pyro stun and ultimate will finish off that Pesty. But there goes Imba Boy with the hook back.
Can't touch this.
And he cannot buy out again. And that's game.
A Hellborn barracks has been destroyed.
Top racks are going to fall here. Fuzi and Gauntlet, plenty of damage. Obviously they can't take this mid tower because the secondary is still up, but they can go bot, or they can just take the mid secondary. Clean up the creep waves from here, Bubbles and Pyro. And Hellborn sort of missed their window here, so Legion are definitely going to win this game, I think, at this point. It's not really a question anymore of whether it's going to happen. It's just when is it going to happen. Because Fuzi's too powerful. And the Shrunken Heads here, like I said, they just do too much to stop the Hellborn's damage. It's so much magic, and that's why I did not like the Bubbles pick. It seems to me like if you're going to run the aggressive tri-lane, and that was certainly their plan, why would you put a short lane Bubbles? I never understand this. The only way that works, and honestly against a Hag, it had a better chance than in most situations because Bubbles can kill that Hag. I don't think he was aggressive enough, and I don't think he was getting enough support. He needs to get kills on that Hag, and he didn't. So even though he kept the farm down a little bit, not too much, his Hag was a 250 GPM and a suicide roll, which is pretty awesome. But just Fuzi not dying enough, 4 deaths here for the whole game, and he should have 6 or 7 because he should have gotten picked off 3 times in the laning phase alone. Ward, of course, put right down on the top of the Ward Rev, so nice illusions there from Torture, going to counter. As Hag jumps in here with the Sheep Stick onto Kraken, going to take a bunch of damage, but actually Hag now getting locked down, just gets destroyed. Gauntlet Blast onto a bunch, and Saint Rocks falls immediately. Bubbles will try to pick off Seal Kid, not going to happen. There goes the ultimate from Witch Slayer, and this is going to be a death onto Bubbles. Super KG falls in the background. At least the Kraken gets dropped here onto Pestilence, and he's going to fall in the meantime. The Insensation gets picked up by Ravener, who's looking for more initiation. Fuzi buys back, and looking for a jump here. Will find Kraken, not going to be a death. But poor jump there by Fuzi. As he jumped in, put the Hex on a Kraken, the entire Hellborn team was waiting for him, and they just exploded. But ultimately, the fight, I think, does go in favor of the Legion's side, as Kraken did use a buyback in order to come back to the fight. They lost 2 heroes, 3 heroes, in fact. So no, sorry, they did go for favor of Hellborn, I think, with the death on Fuzi and the buyout. Plus Super KG fell and bought out as well. So that's actually what I'm even talking about here. Zane died and bought back, but I believe that was 3 kills for Hellborn and 4 kills for Hellborn, 3 kills for Legion, plus 2 buybacks for Legion and 1 for Hellborn. I don't think it matters though. That's just, yeah, okay, that was a good thing for Hellborn, yay for them. It doesn't matter. Fuzi made a poor decision to initiate there, but I think he knows, and the rest of Lions here knows. It's just not a big deal. Kongor here going to be a point of interest, as KG on the Gauntlet is off to the side. Has a Portkey available, so I don't think he's in too much danger, but if he gets caught out, that'd be interesting. Silk has a Bound Eye, will D-Ward up here. Just about to expire anyway. It's good. Put the Bound Eye in Seal Kid. He's only got 11 deaths, and he's going to get jumped on here as he drops the Impalement, but here comes Ravener. Nice initiation there from again. Going to put everything onto Kraken, actually. Seal Kid falls in the background, but Kraken dies immediately. Gets his release of Kraken off. Super KG's hook going to miss, but Shrunken Head's all over the place. Pestilence trying to run away. Kelpfield at it too, and the Insensation will fall. Envoy going to get destroyed by Kraken or Gauntlet and Pesty now. Inferno Stability onto Pyro, and he's dead. Plus the jump, and Book will actually fall there. Tries to pour it out, not successful. Or was that St. Rox? No, that was St. Rox, excuse me. And just going to miss Bubbles, and Infernal's ability hits him, but it's obviously not a stun, so who cares. So 3 hero picks there for the losers side, as all of their farmers are alive, only they're losing the supports. Mid tower going to die.
Destroyed a Hellborn tower.
I think, again, is a little too low here to comfortably fight, but they're going to take a Congo instead. Not too much vision. Seal Kid's got 1 ward here and 1 ward over here, but nothing up here on top of the lanes. So with all the portal keys from Hellborn, they can certainly jump into the pit without being seen. And with the Shell Surf from Bubbles, they can scout the pit without being seen, but with 30 seconds left on the top, those top 3 heroes, Ravener, Pyromancer, and Kraken, it's not going to be stopped, and Fuzi's got a token now. As if things weren't a big enough problem already. I do sort of have to question the Sheepstick pickup. I don't think it's necessary. Gauntlet has a Hellflower, and you're going to lock down Ravener and kill him anyway. I really don't think you need to sheep somebody on top of that. I think I'd go for right-click auto-attack damage right now anyway, as Bubbles doing some harassment, but not too much. I mean, Hag's hitting for 205 damage per hit, which is pretty solid, but if you put a Savage Bice on top of that, then it's obviously closer to 300 damage to hit, and I think that's where most of her damage should come from at this point. Sheepstick's certainly getting plenty of regen, but it's not like she needs it. She has to do more. Seal Kid trying not to die. And as what a surprise, he did lose that bound die. Pyromancer has it. So, like I said, put it on the guy with now 12 deaths. Makes sense. It's not like anybody else in Legion has room for it, but still kind of funny, considering how often Seal Kid has died in this game. And once again, not a slight on him. He's certainly... It's been a bit of a strategic death, as he's like, oh, here I am. Everybody drop all your spells onto me, jump onto me, and give my team the ability to counter-initiate on you and clean up your entire team, so... Rarely has he been just completely caught out and died for no reason. It usually ends up being he's the first death of a large team fight that ends up going in Legion's favor. And this game's certainly in Legion's favor right now at 10k gold and 13k experience. No question that they're ahead. Creeped up as 5 here on the observatory. Not sure what they're looking for. As a word of sight here from Seal Kid is just seeing all of them, so Legion know exactly what's going on. Up top, Push going to continue to siege these racks as 3 heroes are coming in to stop it. Legion going to clean up Hellborn Woods, as Fuji's doing the same for his own jungle. So I guess feeling like they want a little more security in terms of items. Fuji's got 4,800 gold saved up, so we'll see what he's going to buy next. I do suspect it is going to be that Savage Mace. I think he's got plenty of gold. Obviously, I think what he wants first, though, is the buyback, so he doesn't want to buy the Savage Mace and not also have buyout, so... Probably going to make sure he's got enough cash for both, and then pick up the Savage Mace, I hope. It could be a Butterfly, too. That'd be interesting. Wing Bow. Not a Butterfly. Resto Stone. Ballsy. Not bad. I think further invalidates the Sheepstick. Well, it actually doesn't, because now you can... What am I even talking about? Now you can refresh the Sheepstick, so you can double Hex. So that's why he went Sheepstick in the first place there, because he was playing on the rest of the time. Seal Kid going to get caught out here and will die for no... Oh god, again, is going to maybe survive this, and Gauntlet comes in to help. He does get Hex, but Ravener in a ton of trouble, gets the Invis Rune. Super KG immediately falls. The book dies in the background to be a sensation. Again, trying to run away. Seal Kid will actually get picked off as he gets a shot over there. Hex here onto St. Rox on Blitz, and he will die. Void Talisman on Advanced Sensation doesn't matter at all. Neither does the Kelphill with the Shrunken Head up from Hag, and she's going to try to chase down this Kraken here. Has the bugs on him. There's the Bat Blast on top of the HoN. And that's a death.
Can't touch this.
So again, and actually there's some illusion from Envoys. Of course, he has no buyback. Jump there onto Bubbles, but he'll be fine.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Tower goes down. Now Rack's being sieged. Should be a relatively easy kill, as just Pyro and Bubbles are up at this point. Actually, Pyro can get jumped and die immediately. Bubbles going to jump in once again. Shell Surf, take cover, and he'll be alright.
A Hellborn barracks has been destroyed.
Top racks get finished off by the creep wave. Bot racks get finished off by the heroes. And this is also going to be a mid racks, as just nobody alive for another 20 seconds until Envoy shows up, and even then I'm not sure it's enough. Hex is back on Hag, of course. She still has the Resto Stone.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn
And
tower.
plus Witch-Slayer Hex, stuns from Slayer and Pesty. I mean, like, Envoy can jump in here. He's got to Shrunken Head first and then jump, but I don't think it's going to matter. Shrunken Head gets popped there on, again, preemptively.
Barracks has been destroyed.
As the kill field is now back there. Hex, though, onto Bubbles, as actually Hag eats the one, too, and now she's in some trouble. Will die here, but has a token. Again, meanwhile, falls in the background as Imboy is going to chase down Torture, and we'll get a kill here. No! Nah, he does. Logical feedback. Now, nice ultimate there onto Imboy, and he's going to fall. At least the Kraken gets dropped into Hag. Has already lost her token, but Super KG picks off Death Growl and Blink away from Hag, plus the Bat Blast. Kraken going to try to pour it out here, and not going to be successful because the Hex comes out. So, that's a GG call. So, that's a game. So, pretty well played there from Reason. They just had some issues with actually nice ultimate from Pyro. He's like, yeah, you think that's funny? Well, I got spells, bitch. But decent game here from Reason. They brought it to 48 minutes, which is actually sort of the problem. This game needed to end at about 30 to 35 for them if they wanted to win it. They just had so much mid-game and not that much late game. And really, we see these mid-game lineups every so often. I think SG sort of popularized the mid-game win. But I hate the short lane bubbles. It never works. And I don't like these mid-game lineups in general. It doesn't seem to me like there's enough power in these heroes to break base at 30 minutes. Especially considering there's no push. Like, it'd be different if you had a Keeper on top of this, or an Ophelia on top of this, or something like that. But there's no push here. Ravener has no push, Kraken has no push, Blitz has no push. Pyro and Bubbles are okay at cleaning creep waves. There's not a lot of building damage, and it just seems to me like if you're going to run this sort of lineup, you need a heavier push than they had, and that's probably a reason why they lost. The other thing is that they just like to get to late game. Fuzi had too good a start. He wasn't completely destroyed in the mid game, and he got up to 615 gold per minute. So once that happened, was the Shrunken Head started coming out, nobody on the Hellborn had damage to deal with anything anymore, and the Lions just ran away from the game. The Shrunken Heads were really a big turning point as well once they started coming out. It's basically like, what do I do? Bubbles has nothing, Pyro has nothing, Bliss has nothing, Kraken has very little. Imboy has some damage, but it's not that much. So that's going to be it. That's all I got, as Lions takes game 1 in a well-fought game. 48 minutes, quite a nice match, and we'll